أسعد الله أوقاتكم وأهلا وسهلا بكم في هذا اللقاء الجديد من برنامج حديث الرقيب. حديثنا اليوم يأخذنا أبعد شوية من القضايا الداخلية، وفي كل فترة نستضيف أحد الممثلين من السفارات والمؤسسات الأجنبية العاملة هنا في فلسطين. فأرحب بكم مرة ثانية، وأرحب بضيفي في الاستوديو راح يكون كيتل كارلسون، وهو سفير الدنمارك لدى فلسطين. إذن welcome to our talk show. My guest today is Mr. Ketil Karlsen. He is the Danish ambassador to Palestine. We are here today to talk about the trade relationship, economic relationship between Denmark and Palestine. Other issues, of course, we will have it. This is the first time Mr. Karlsen is my guest here in the studio, and thank you for joining me today, Mr. Karlsen. Let me start with the history, actually, of economic and political ties between Denmark and Palestine. Welcome again. Please go ahead.
Well, thank you so much, and thank you for having me here. I mean, how would I have loved to be able to speak to you in Arabic? You know, it's such a beautiful language, but then we will have to speak in a mother tongue that is neither yours, neither mine in English, but I'm sure that we will manage.
Yeah.
And it's really great to be here today. Now, of course, the relation between Denmark and Palestine goes back, you know, in history many years, but by particular means the recent history started in the mid-90s around the Oslo agreements, where Denmark was amongst the many countries that established diplomatic relations here, you know, really invested very significant funding in terms of, getting a proper perspective for a two-state solution here. So we set up offices initially in Jericho, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And now we are running our operations from Ramallah, but we have activities throughout Gaza, the West Bank, including East Jerusalem. And of course we support as well, you know, UNRWA and their engagement throughout the region. So we have quite extensive activities in supporting, you know, the Palestinian cause and the right for self-determination, but also strengthening the economic opportunities. And of course, we know all the shortcomings. It's not an easy context, but we are still of the opinion that one should not sit with the arms crossed and just waiting, you know, for things to happen. So every single day we are engaging, you know, throughout the territory in terms of creating better opportunities for ordinary Palestinians, but also better opportunities for Palestinian businesses, because that's an integral part of the statehood that we all want to see for Palestine eventually.
Yeah. So do you think we can evaluate this relationship? Is it a two-ways relationship or just supporting to Palestinians via the Denmark government?
Well, I mean, it's a partnership more than anything else. I don't personally like much to be called a donor, because it sort of suggests that somebody is coming and, you know, handing something to others. It's an asymmetrical relationship, an unequal relationship. But that's not what we are looking for. We're really looking for a partnership where also we look at what are the business possibilities, you know, for Palestine in Europe, for in Denmark in particular as well, and vice versa, because that's the only thing that will be sustainable by the end of the day. So we are looking much beyond development cooperation. And if you look at how we engage here, a lot is being done to promote better opportunities for the economy, you know, whether investing in infrastructure like we are doing, you know, better access to clean and affordable energy, better road infrastructure like we are doing together with local governments across the entire area, or the investments that we have, for instance, in the agricultural sector.
Yep.
Now, you must bear in mind that, Denmark is a very sort of modernized country now, with high tech and medical, IT, startups, etc. But the entire foundation,
the trends of the economy today.
Yeah, that's the trend of anywhere, I suppose. Yeah. But the very foundation of our nationhood and our economy, for sure, was agriculture. Denmark used to be and remains, one of the leading agricultural producers globally. We have really refined our strategies for developing agriculture. So we find a very natural partnership here. Almost where we feel it's the same sort of blood that runs in the veins of the Palestinians and the Danes, because the proximity to the soil here, being close to the ground and being able to produce from it's something that is really common between Palestine and Denmark as well.
There is a potential. I believe last year, and through partnering with the 5 Palestinian universities, the Ministry of Agriculture as well as the FAO, your government promotes youth employment through the creation of green jobs and support to young Palestinian entrepreneurs with the innovative and sustainable business projects across agri-food sector. Is that the reason why you are focusing on the agri-food sector?
I mean, we see the agri-food sector as a real opportunity for adding value and creating jobs. This is especially if you can get young people interested in agriculture. Yeah. I think in Denmark, globally, and probably here as well, there's a tendency that young people don't find that sector as attractive.
They are going to maybe trade, private business, SMEs, to be an employee with here or there. Yeah, they are not interested in the agriculture.
So what we want to showcase is that you can turn that around, and you can use all the smart technologies, all the innovative methodologies, the SME approaches to agriculture as well, making it a real business case and making it interesting and forward-looking for young people as well. And this is what we are seeing all around, amazing, entrepreneurial, creative young Palestinians.
And a high potential sector as well, I believe.
And a very high potential sector. Yeah. I mean, there is a market locally already, that is saturated partially by produce coming from elsewhere, which is ironical considering, the conditions and possibilities to produce within Palestine. So there's an economic case there already, but of course there's also a potential beyond Palestine as well. And, looking at maybe new green and climate-friendly ways of producing as well. That's the trend, globally. Only yesterday there was a new report coming out of the United Nations on, how dire the climate situation is.
And the green economy, the green jobs, whatever.
And it's a conversation I don't hear much here in Palestine. And frankly, I understand why, right? Because if you're living under occupation, you're struggling on a day-to-day basis on, even getting to work or looking at, can I stay on my land, etc. Maybe, if the temperature is changing, well, is not on the top of everybody's mind. But I think there's a real business case here for Palestine as well to tap into those new technologies, to tap into the international financing opportunities as well. And that's why we, together with the World Bank and the European Union and others, are trying to put this higher on the agenda in Palestine. And what better way of doing that than actually showcasing that there is a real business opportunity here? That this is something that young people can tap into.
Despite the occupation, but there are still many opportunities.
There are still opportunities in spite of circumstances. And, hopefully opportunities that will increasingly be economically viable and sustainable as well, even without, international support. But this takes, a very wholesome approach where we look at what are the access to finance opportunities, what skill sets are needed, which is why, of course, we work with the universities as well, and, providing the necessary training, what sort of, development of new ideas are needed as well, what market opportunities are there, how can you make sure that whatever you produce will actually fit into a value chain of the market. And this is the sort of thing that we can assist with. And, where organizations such as FAO and others, they have, cutting-edge international best practice capacities that we can help, inserting into the Palestinian market as well.
Sure.
And it's really, it's working extremely well, which is why we are also upscaling our support to green jobs. And we start seeing that other international partners get interested in this as well. And I personally think there's a future in it. We see that in other places, including in my own country, that you can actually make quite significant gains, by tapping into that combination of sustainable, green, and climate-friendly agri-food production.
Which is, I believe, now the challenge of the world.
It is a challenge of the world, and as I said, the UN reports on climate change is sort of the big overriding crisis of the global community. I mean, we talk a lot about the war in Ukraine, and for very good reasons. We talk a lot about the conflict in the Middle East, and equally for very good reasons. But, it's a one that doesn't exclude the other. Meanwhile, if we do not address, these large overriding trends in terms of, the global climate crisis, then we will all live to regret fundamentally. And just to say, there's a business case in this as well, so those that manage to tap into that and to provide new and innovative ways of dealing with the challenges, they will also, thrive from those opportunities. And, I don't want to just throw roses at my own country, Denmark, but if you look at our current economy, this is really playing a major part. We were pioneers to create windmills, for energy production initially. And since others have taken significant market shares, but Denmark remains one of the main, producers of windmills globally. And now we are looking at, new generation technologies as well that have a huge potential, of course, in terms of providing better and cleaner energy, but also in terms of providing viable economic options for the future. And I think that's where we are going to see a lot of investment going in the coming years as well.
Do you think... sorry.
No, sorry, just to say, we don't want Palestine to miss the train, right? I mean, we want Palestine to be on board in spite of the circumstances. And I must say this again and again, because of course we understand that it is not straightforward, that there are a lot of constraints, there are a lot of bottlenecks, there are a lot of, issues that flow from a situation of occupation. Yeah. So I'm not belittling that. And I mean, we understand and we deal with that as well, or we try to, at least. But it is vital that Palestine is on board in that sort of thinking, that we activate youth on digital platforms as well, supporting their ability to create businesses there as well as in agri-food business.
So you think there is an opportunity as well to develop the two countries' relationship according to your vision? I know it's... you've been here less than maybe 2 years, and I think you have your own vision now, all the complicated issues, what can be done maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think we would fool ourselves if we look too short-term in terms of major changes on the ground here. I mean, everybody understands the complexities around the conflict that has been going on for ages. And frankly, it doesn't look like it's getting easier, right? On the other hand, I think that there is a lot that can be done while, international peace talks may not have a lot of momentum. There's a lot that can be done in very practical terms. In the space between sort of large-scale international negotiations and sort of the activism that you see being done as well, just to support ordinary Palestinians in having better opportunities, strengthening their resilience, working as well with the authorities here to promote reforms, strengthening transparency, curbing corruption. Strengthening
which is a big challenge for us, and
strengthening
it's a big willing as well.
Democratic legitimacy as well of the PA and beyond. Promoting unity Palestine, because all of these matters are important factors in building the relationship between Palestine and governments such as my own. Because for that partnership to be as strong as possible, the Palestinian authorities need to showcase as well their willingness, to adhere to international best practices and conventions, etc. So sometimes in our conversations here with politicians, they will look at me and say, but Mr. Ambassador, you must understand that, when we are in an existential crisis, we are struggling, people are getting killed. We are struggling every day. And then you come telling me, that I need to reform A, B, and C. And of course I understand where they're coming from, but it's the one that doesn't exclude the other, because by, really strengthening reforms, promoting...
You have to keep moving.
...livelihood internally, creating options, giving a voice to the youth as well, promoting inclusivity, giving better possibilities for investment and for businesses, etc. All of this is, showcasing the possibility of working with Palestine as well as a reliable, like-minded partner. So we have very close relationships, as we do, with other countries in the region, Israel included. That's a given, but it's a continuous approach. So we have really excellent relations, diplomatic relations, business relations. It's not a huge trading partner, but that only means that there is room for improvement. We can do more, and we can do better.
And do you think there is still a chance to have some joint, maybe business council, joint venture, whatever, having some investment maybe in Denmark or vice versa? Do you think your office can play a major part of this to encourage both sides to do better in trade and economic and investment issues?
Yeah. So we really try to link as much as we can Danish businesses and Palestinian businesses. There have been some, very positive stories already within, the medical sphere, in other areas, agriculture as well. But again, more can be done. And I think the best way to do that is actually, to get the people together from Denmark and Palestine, people-to-people approaches, but also business-to-business approaches. And that is what we are promoting. Some of the lessons learned in Denmark in areas that I mentioned before, such as the agricultural sector, climate and clean, affordable energy for all, are examples of where we can also share knowledge, we can share experience, hopefully inspire, Palestinians to engage in similar sectors as well. And I think that's a really important way of building the relationship long term. So we work on all sorts of levels, you see. We work through our day-to-day engagement, in the political sphere, of course, together with our European and like-minded partners here. We work with our development cooperation that is, increasingly focused on creating economic possibilities here on the ground in key sectors. And then we work on, building the overall relationship. And there are a number of dimensions to that, of course, ranging from the cultural sphere, to doing business fundamentally. And I think that's really, the cornerstones of our future relationship as well.
And that might reflect the experience of Denmark people and government as well, how to deal with economic issues, how to develop your country despite the occupation. You believe so? We still at least can gather or exchange the experience, skills, opportunities, meetings, whatever. Can be done.
One of the amazing things about Palestine is, the very high level of education, actually, right? And even in Gaza, where, people in my country, I think, would often think that people, are maybe not that educated because of the long-term difficulties that they have been facing.
But
UNRWA education is really state-of-the-art, excellent education, and I'm proud, to be one of the main donors to that organization. And I just see wherever I go in Palestine, thriving young people. One time I went to Gaza, there was a desalination plant that, had been created there, big investments. And I asked, some of the local interlocutors, how costly is it to do something like that in Gaza? And they said, yeah, well, it's costly, but it's not, I expected it would be a lot more expensive than in other places, because you would have to, negotiate bringing things in, and complicated in many ways and forms. But one of the answers that I really liked was that actually it's not so much more expensive because you have ready available resources from people on the ground. You have trained engineers and doctors and nurses and teachers, and so you have that vital resource base that is the backbone of any thriving society. So there is a lot of unused resources in terms of the capacity of the Palestinian people that is relatively high educated. And this is the sort of thing that we would like to see used more and better. And maybe sometimes, we need to think out of the box and look at, what opportunities are there in digital space. Can new business opportunities be created there? Or, as I said, even, in the production of climate-friendly energy or agri-production or beyond. And then instead of, looking for the hare in the soup, if you wish, because if you only look at the constraints, the difficulties, the stumbling blocks, then you may end up creating a self-fulfilling prophecy where you don't really even try, to make the businesses work.
You have to keep trying.
And if you look at, what can be done instead of what cannot be done, then I'm amazed to see, how, again, young and innovative and creative and entrepreneurial Palestinians can actually make things happen. And then in the interim and in the meanwhile, in parallel to that, of course we continue working, for a two-state solution, for having, adherence to international law, making sure that people have the rights to live on their land, and ultimately the right for self-determination. But it's part of that state-building process also to create opportunities right now, because that's what matters to people. I mean, when I speak to young people on the ground, they don't want a promise, in 30 years' time or 20 years' time. They care about their opportunities right now, the opportunities for their families, having decent jobs, being employed by the end of the day. That is what matters.
And there is always a glimmer of hope that might happen, and I believe you know that Palestinians, they have willing to do so. I think, and they did that in the past, and they can do it in the future. Thank you for being with me, and let me have just this the paragraph to my audience that in Denmark there is a high level of societal. I mean societal trust. It means that people of Denmark not only trust their families and their friends, but also trust institutions like the government, police, health service, and many issues. حديثي اليوم كان طبعا مع سعادة سفير الدنماركي كيتل كارلسون، وأنهينا بفقرة نتمنى أنها تكون واقع في بلدنا، نتمنى أنها تكون حقيقة في بلدنا، أن الشعب الدنماركي أيضا عنده حالة مجتمعية مختلفة كليا عن اللي بنعيشها اليوم في كثير من أوطاننا. الناس هناك مش بس بثقوا ببعض وبثقوا في أصدقائهم وفي عائلاتهم، إنما بثقوا في أداء الحكومة، بثقوا في القطاع العام، بثقوا في القطاع الخاص، في الشرطة، البوليس، في كل مناحي الحياة. هناك ثقة عالية ما بين المجتمع وما بين إدارة الحكم في البلد. أشكركم مرة ثانية على وجودكم معي، ومرة ثانية thank you for joining me Mr. Ketil Karlsen, and I wish you all the best in your mission in this complicated situation in Palestine as well. And thank you again for being with us.
Thank you so much. And you know what makes it so wonderful to be here is really the hospitality of the Palestinian people. That is so heartwarming.
We are proud of our traditions.
So, you know, it's a wonderful place to serve, and, you know, we work hard every day, you know, to make life just a little bit better for the Palestinian people that are our friends, of course.
Thank you. Thank you. شكرا مرة أخرى لكل اللي يتابعونا اليوم. نلتقي في لقاء آخر من برنامج حديث الرقيب بعونه تعالى. السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته، وكل عام وأنتم بخير. رمضان كريم Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
البرنامج الاقتصادي الأسبوعي حديث الرقيب. نطالع، نتعمق، نسأل ونتساءل عن أهم التطورات والقضايا الاقتصادية والسياسات المالية. حديث الرقيب يأتيكم كل ثلاثاء تمام 10 صباحاً، ويعاد بثه الخميس تمام 2 من بعد الظهر على أثير إذاعة الرقيب 101.9 FM. هذا البرنامج برعاية البنك الإسلامي الفلسطيني.